Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nihongo Master podcast. I'm your host Azra, and today's episode is especially useful for those who have already applied for jobs in Japan. And the next step is the interview process. We're diving into the Japanese working mindset, which applies for both the office environment and job interviews too. The Japanese have quite a different perspective in just about everything, and that's not a bad thing at all. But it does affect our chances of getting offered the position. So, before you go into your first interview for a job in Japan, you've got to get into their heads and understand what they're looking for. Oh, and this is also great to have an insight of what awaits you at the Japanese office. We're breaking it down into 4 points, which are all basically linked. So take down some notes and be sure to jot down the useful vocabulary words we're going to include. The first thing you need to know about the Japanese working mindset is that they avoid uncertainty at all costs. This is the most important and prominent aspect of the Japanese working culture. You'll see it in the office, you'll even get a sense of it during the interviews, or mensetsu in Japanese. When it comes to the work environment, Japanese people would want to be able to predict everything and control the situation as much as possible. Any kind of uncertainty, it's a no-go for them. Some might say they're a bit afraid of change, but it all links to this uncertainty factor. I'll give just a simple example, nothing to do with work. Back home in Singapore, restaurants are very accommodating to customers' requests. Say you want an ingredient out of a dish. Sure, no problem. In Japan, this kind of request is most often refused. Although, from my experience, things are starting to lighten up a bit. But that's not because they don't want to be accommodating. The reason behind it is from the purest of intentions. They don't want to disappoint. Making a dish without a specific ingredient or with a substitution isn't something they're confident with. Kakushi no omotemasen. They're not sure if they can provide the same level of satisfaction with this change. They're only confident with what they know how to make best, so they usually just stick to those that are guaranteed. So when it comes to interviews for jobs in Japan, your role is to get rid of any unnecessary utagai or uncertainty. Here's a quick vocab recap. Mensetsu, interview for job and school. Other types of interviews, you can use the katakana word interview. Kakushin, confidence. To say to have confidence, it's kakushi no motsu. Utagai, uncertainty. You can also use a more common word, fuan, which translates to uneasiness. The second important aspect of the Japanese working mindset is loyalty, or chusei in Japanese, especially to the company. I've done my fair share of job interviews, and I can confidently tell you that the ones I had for Japan jobs were very much different in process. For one, they get very in-depth with questions about kazoku, family. These questions about family are linked to this loyalty aspect. They'll ask one question after the other about what you think of your family, what your family thinks of you working in Japan, and if the way you think is aligned with the way your family thinks. See, the reason they ask all of that is because of the worry that you might just up and leave the company to go back home. In Japanese culture, family can have a big impact on decision making. And that's not all they would ask you about. Of course, you will get the standard interview question of, where do you see yourself in X years' time? Here's a tip. Do not, and I repeat, do not, say you're going to start your own business. This entrepreneurship, or kigyoka in Japanese, mindset is not what the Japanese employers are looking for. As soon as you say this, they're going to think that you're not going to stay in the company for long. And most of the time, Japanese kaisha are looking for long-term, if not lifetime, employment. So in other words, say what you need to say to convince them that you're here for a long time. But of course, don't resort to lying. That's never good. Here's a quick vocab recap. Chusei, loyalty. Kazoku, family. Kigyoka, entrepreneur. Kaisha, company. By the way, if you haven't checked out our official website yet, why not give it a browse? At Nihongo Master, we offer efficient Japanese lessons that are quick, easy, and fun for Japanese language learners of all levels, from beginners to advanced. Our smart tools will assist you in areas where you need a little bit of a push and congratulate you on the ones you've aced. With a community of over 50,000 Japanese students, you're not alone on your learning journey. Make new friends and improve together with our point system, collecting points as you go along. Ask away any questions you have on our group discussion pages. There's sure to be others as well as our Japanese instructors that are quick to answer. You can also take Nihongo Master with you on the go and learn Japanese as you trot the globe. Practical, right? No matter what kind of industry you're in, as long as you're in a Japanese company, they're going to be very detail-oriented. And that brings me to my third point. Saibue no kikubari, attention to detail. In Japanese working culture, it's more than just the results that matter. It's the process, and even more in-depth, it's the details. Take this for example. Japanese people love to use genkin, cash. Why? Back home, I'd use any type of wireless cashless payment, like a credit card or Apple Pay. In Japan, a big chunk of the country still prefers cash. That's because they would rather have it right in front of them to make sure that all the details are 100% correct. In the work environment, every bunsho document is printed. Having a physical copy is crucial. If you go into a meeting or kaigi in Japanese without printing out copies of the presentation slides, you're not going to leave a good impression. So start early. With interviews online, of course, you don't need to have to print out anything since it's all through the web. But if you have interviews face-to-face, be sure to print out not one, but a few copies of your CV, portfolio, and other necessary documents. Here's a quick vocab recap. Saibue no kikaburi, attention to detail. Genkin, cash. Kaigi, meeting. Bunsho, document. Last but not least, a crucial point of the Japanese working mindset is the integration to the team and company. In Japanese culture, harmony is key. The word for harmony in Japanese is chowa, and the kanji wa is used to refer to anything Japanese, like washoku, Japanese cuisine, and wafuku, Japanese clothes. So as you can see, there's a high importance in maintaining this peace, especially within the workplace. Because of this strong cultural aspect, employers vet the candidates from as early as the interview process. This is also why it takes such a long time for job applications to go through in Japan. You don't only get one interview with a hiring staff member, but you get multiple. Everyone from the HR, kacho, manager, to even the shacho, president sometimes. The Japanese believes that one interview isn't enough to see if the candidate is a good fit for the company. During these interviews, they look out for very specific traits. Positive ones like familiarity with Japanese culture, understanding the Japanese way of communicating, and self-motivation are just to name a few. If you flag any risks and concerns, like lack of language skills or cultural understanding, that's a no-go for them. All in all, you have to give the impression that you're a good fit for the company and that you can work as a team with other doryo, co-workers. And when you do get the position, don't slack off. Keep up the harmonic integration to your team and company. Here's a quick vocab recap. Chowa, harmony. Kacho, manager of a department. Shacho, president of a company. Doryo, co-workers. The Japanese working mindset can be a bit of a working culture shock for some of us, which is why it's best to prepare early so we're not caught off guard. This extra prep not only helps you, but also shows the employers that you're serious about working for them. Have you heard anything else about the Japanese working mindset? Let us know by commenting on social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you guys. Also, head over to Nihongo Master blog if you're interested in reading up on topics like these some more. And if you're keen on picking up some more Japanese for yourself, pop onto our official website, nihongomaster.com, to learn more. And while you're at it, why not get yourself a subscription? Get a head start on your Nihongo journey with Nihongo Master. And thank you so much for listening in. Join me in the next one, where I'll be walking you down another avenue of Japan's rich culture. Mata ne!